your greatest passions, there's three ministries that you're very involved in.
Yes.
Okay? Operation Christmas Child, Compassion International, and the Widows of Worth. Right?
Yes.
Why do those mean so much to you? And I know you basically pour your life into them. So maybe explain that a little bit.
Well, we're called by God to fulfill the Great Commission.
Yes.
And that is to make sure that everybody on the planet has the opportunity to live with him in eternity. Mm-hmm. And I know one of my joys was being a missionary to Ukraine for 4 years. I lived there. Mm-hmm. And my occupation, I'm a registered nurse, still am. My job was to go around the country of Ukraine. And every time I would get to my destination and I would do what I was being paid to do, I'd say, do you have an orphanage? Do you have a hospital, a children's hospital or something? And that whole purpose was to bring God to Ukraine. And the Lord let me have so much fun, so much adventure, see so much of the world through that ministry.
Yeah.
And when I came back home after 4 years, okay, I'm riding the pine. What do you want me to do?
Right.
And it was when my friends took me to the processing center for the first time. Mm-hmm. And they don't do it this way anymore, but I got a phone call that my name had been submitted to be the community relations coordinator for South and East Los Angeles. Mm. And I kind of laughed and I thought, I don't even speak Spanish and I'm not quite sure where South and East Los Angeles is.
Yeah.
But I was leading the grief ministry at my church at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were doing this study, Experiencing God by Blackaby. And we were at the portion where it says, you are going to be, once you are a believer, you are going to be offered so many different places that the Lord wants to use you. But is the Lord telling you that plate is yours? Not the 50 you're being offered. Is your name on that plate? Mm-hmm. And so I asked the grief ministry to pray with me and see if my name was on the OCC plate. Mm-hmm. And so I interviewed and was accepted for the position. And they said, the first thing you need is a team. So I went back to the grief ministry. And I said, is your name on that plate? Mm-hmm. And 6 of them are still with me today, 18 years later.
Yeah, that's right.
So they have been my core. They have been my support. They have been just the most fabulous knife sharpening iron because we knew each other as friends before we got into the ministry.
Sure.
So that was awesome. But trying to get back into being an American again, and now being with Operation Christmas Child, one of the first churches I went to make a presentation on Mission Sunday was a church in Corona, and the very next table was Compassion International. And I said, tell me about Compassion. And I want to tell you about Operation Christmas Child. Mm-hmm. And I saw how the two of them meld together to reach the kids of the world and show them the goodness of God.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll do a kid, you do a shoebox. So we got into that. Well, not too much longer later, and one of the heart of my desires has been to see the world. Lord, I want to see it all. And so I chose a little girl in Kenya. And when she turned 14, I went to see her. Mm-hmm. If you're a serious student, I'm a serious sponsor, and I'll put you through college. Uh-huh. Wow, you must be really rich. No, that would have cost me about $30 a month if she wanted to go to medical school.
Yeah.
But I wanted her to know God with flesh. Mm-hmm. To hug her and kiss her and let her know that God has her in his sights to have her do whatever she wishes to do. Yeah. And I am now on my, I want to say 6th or 7th that have graduated out of the program. They've aged out of the program. Mm-hmm. And so my last little boy that I've got on my book so far is a little boy in Guatemala, and he just turned 15. So as soon as the tours open up again with compassion, then I'll be going to meet him. But I also, one graduated out, so now I am going to be supporting a little girl, not a little girl, she's my oldest one, she's 19, and she is in Haiti.
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of doing double duty here because that way I get to see the country.
Yeah. Right. At the same time. Yeah.
But with Widows started up at my church 2.5 years ago. And the lady that runs it is just absolutely focused on having widows not feel alone, not feel like they're unsupported, and knowing that the Lord chooses them as his favorites. How many times in the Bible does it say widows and orphans, widows and orphans?
That's true.
And one of my favorite scriptures is, don't touch my my widows. I will really beat you up if you touch my widows. And so I feel like the Lord uses me to show what a surrendered life will look like. It's been 34 years for me.
Yeah.
And he just keeps using me more and more and more in that sense.
Yeah.
I just got back from Scotland, my 61st country. And while I was there, we stayed with a pastor and his wife. And in the evening, the pastor's topic was widows and orphans.
Nice.
Because he's very huge on giving to the community.
Yeah.
And so he introduced this lady who feels called to lead the widows in Scotland, right outside of Edinburgh. And so she said, so if any of you are widows and you would like to feel supported and get into that kind of fellowship, just let me know. Yeah. And I went up to her afterwards, and she has that countenance of a sweet saint.
Yeah.
And she looks at me with those sweet eyes, and I said, sweetheart, I'm here for you. I want to support you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you my journey of 34 years and how the Lord has used me and what a life this next chapter could be for you.
Awesome.